All right, chapter 13. As the data that we shall now take up, I say to myself, you are a benign ghoul digging up dead old legends and superstitions, trying to breathe life into them. Well, then, why have you neglected Santa Claus? But I am particular in the matter of data or alleged data, and I have come upon no record or alleged record of mysterious footprints in snow on roofs of houses leading to chimneys Christmas Eves. There is a great deal in the most acceptable of the science of today that represents a rehabilitation of supposed legends, superstitions, and folklore. Recall Voltaire's incredulity as to fossils, which according to him only a peasant would believe in, and note that his antagonism to fossils was probably because they had been taken over by theologians in their way of explaining. Here was one of the keenest of minds, but it could not accept data because it rejected explanations of the data. And so one thinks of, say, the transmutation of metals, which is now rehabilitated, and so on. There are some backward ones today who do not believe in witches, but every married man knows better. In the month of May 1810, something appeared in Innerdale, near the border of England and Scotland, and killed sheep, not devouring them, sometimes 7 or 8 of them, in a night, but biting into the jugular vein and sucking the blood. That's the story. The only mammal that I know of that does something like this is the vampire bat. It has to be accepted that stories of the vampire bat are not myths. Something was ravaging near Innerdale, and the losses by sheep farmers were so serious that the whole region was aroused. It became a religious duty to hunt this marauder. Once, when hunters rode past the church, out rushed the whole congregation to join them, the vicar throwing off his surplice on his way to a horse. Milking, cutting of hay, feeding of stock were neglected. For more details, see Chambers Journal 81 470. Upon the 12th of September, someone saw a dog in a cornfield and shot it. It is said that this dog was the marauder and that with its death the killing of sheep stopped. For about 4 months in the year 1847, beginning upon January 8th, a killer was abroad in Ireland. The Land and Water, March 7th, 1874, a correspondent writes that he had heard of depredations by a wolf in Ireland, where the last native wolf had been killed in the year 1712. According to him, a killer was running wild in Cavan, slaying as many as 30 sheep in one night. There is another account in Land and Water, March 28th. Here, a correspondent writes that in Cavan, sheep had been killed in a way that led to the belief that the marauder was not a dog. The correspondent knew of 42 instances in 3 town lands in which sheep had been similarly killed, throats cut and blood sucked, but no flesh eaten. The footprints were like a dog's, but were long and narrow and showed traces of strong claws. Then, in the issue of April 11th of Land and Water, came the news that we have been expecting. The killer had been shot. It had been shot by Archdeacon McGinnis at Lismoreville and was only a large dog. This announcement ends the subject in Land and Water. Almost anybody, anyway in the past, before suspiciousness against conventions had the development that has today, reading these accounts down to the final one would say, why, of course, it's the way these stories always end up. Nothing to them. But it is just the way these stories always end up that has kept me busy. Because of our experience with pseudo endings of mysteries or the mysterious shearing and bobbing and clipping of mysteries, I went more into this story that was said to be no longer mysterious. The large dog that was shot by the archdeacon was sacrificed not in vain, if its story shut up the minds of readers of Land and Water, and if it be desirable somewhere to shut up minds upon this earth. See the Clare Journal, issues up to the April 27th, the shooting of the large dog and no effect upon the depredations, another dog shot, and the relief of the farmers who believed that this one was the killer. Still another dog shot and supposed to be the killer, the killing of sheep continuing. The depredations were so great as to be described as terrible losses for poor people. It is not definitely said that something was killing sheep vampirishly, but that only a piece was bitten off and no flesh sufficient for a dog ever eaten. The scene of the killings shifted. Cavan Weekly News, April 17th, that near Limerick, more than 100 miles from Cavan, a wolf or something like it was killing sheep. The writer says that several persons alleged to have been bitten by this animal have been taken to the Ennis Insane Asylum, laboring under strange symptoms of insanity. It seems that some of the killings were simultaneous near Cavan and near Limerick. At both places, it was not said that finally any animal known to be the killer was shot or identified. If these things may not be if these things that may not be dogs be, their disappearances are as mysterious as their appearances. There was a marauding animal in England towards the end of the year 1905. London Daily Mail, November 1st, 1905. The sheep slaying mystery of Badminton. It is said that in the neighborhood of Badminton, on the border between Gloucestershire and Wiltshire, sheep had been killed. Sergeant Carter of the Gloucestershire Police is quoted, "I have seen two of the carcasses myself and can say definitely that it is impossible for it to be the work of a dog. Dogs are not vampires and do not suck the blood of a sheep and leave the flesh almost untouched." And going over the newspapers, just as we're wondering what's delaying it, here it is. London Daily Mail, December 19th. Marauder shot near Hinton. It was a large black dog. So then, if in London any interest had been aroused, this announcement stopped it. We go to newspapers published near the scene of the sheep slaughtering. Bristol Mercury, November 25th, that the killer was a jackal, which had escaped from a menagerie in Gloucester. And, hold on, oh yeah, that stopped the mystification and inquiry in the minds of readers of the Bristol Mercury. Suspecting that there had been no such escape of a jackal, we go to Gloucester newspapers in the Gloucester Journal, November 4th, in a long account of depredations. There is no mention of the escape of any animal in Gloucester nor anywhere else. In following issues, nothing is said of the escape of a jackal nor of any other animal. So many reports were sent to the editor of this newspaper that he doubted that only one slaughtering thing was abroad. He even goes so far as to call up the traditions of the werewolf, and superstitious people are inclined to this story. We learned that the large black dog had been shot upon December 16th, but that in its region there had been no reported killing of sheep from about November 25th. The look of data is of another scene shifting. Near Gravesend, an unknown animal had, up to December 16th, killed about 30 sheep. Small armies of men went hunting, but the killing stopped and the unknown animal remained unknown. I go on with my yarns. I no more believe them than I believe that twice two are four. If there is continuity, only fictitiously can anything be picked out of the nexus of all phenomena. Or if there is only oneness, we cannot, except arbitrarily, find any two units with which even to start the sequence that twice two are four. And if there is also discontinuity, all things are so individualized that, except arbitrarily and fictitiously, nothing can be classed with or added to anything else. London Daily Express, October 14th, 1925. The district of Edale, Derbyshire, terrorized quite as centuries ago were regions by stories of werewolves. Something black in color and of enormous size was slaughtering sheep at night, leaving the carcasses strewn about with legs, shoulders, and heads torn off, broken backs, and pieces of flesh ripped off. Many hunting parties had gone out but had been unable to track the animal. People in many places are so frightened that they refuse to leave their homes after dark and keep their children in the house. If something had mysteriously appeared, it then quite as mysteriously disappeared. There are stories of wanton killings or of bodies that were not fed upon. London Daily Express, August 12th, 1919. Something that at Lanley, Wales, was killing rabbits for the sake of killing, entering hutches at night, never taking rabbits, killing them by breaking their backbones. Early in the morning of March 3rd, 1906, the sentry at Windsor Castle saw something and fired a shot at it. The man's account of what he thought he saw was not published. It was said that he had shot at one of the ornamental stone elephants which had looked ghostly in moonlight. He was sentenced to 3 days' confinement in barracks for firing without proper cause. It would be interesting to know what he thought he saw with such conviction that he fired and risked punishment, and whether it had anything to do with Daily Mail, March 22nd, that about a dozen of the king's sheep in a field near Windsor Castle had been bitten by something, presumably a dog, so severely that they had to be killed. In the Daily Mail, March 19th, is an account of extraordinary killing of sheep by dogs near Guildford, about 17 miles from Windsor. 51 sheep were killed in one night. A woman in a field, something grabbed her. At first, the story was of a marauding panther that must have escaped from a mangery. See the field, August 12th and 19th, 1893. An animal supposed to be an escaped panther that was preying upon human beings in Russia. Look up records of werewolves or supposed werewolves and note instances of attacks almost exclusively upon women. For a more particularized account by General R.G. Burton, who was in Russia at the time, see the field, December 9th, 1893. General Burton had no opportunity to visit the place haunted by this mysterious animal, but he tells the story as he got it from Prince Shirikining, who was active in the hunt. An unknown beast was terrorizing a small district in the Oriel government south of Moscow. The first attack was upon the evening of July 6th. 3 days later, another woman was grabbed by an undescribed animal, which she beat off until help arrived. That day, a boy aged 10 was killed and devoured. July 11th, a woman killed near Trosna. At 4 o'clock on the 14th, the beast severely wounded another woman, and at 5 o'clock made another attack upon a peasant girl, but was beaten off by a companion who pulled the animal off by the tail. These details are given from the official accounts of the events. There was a panic and the military authorities were appealed to. Three officers and 40 men were sent from Moscow. They organized beats that were composed of from 500 to 1,000 peasants, but all hunts were unsuccessful. On the 24th of July, 4 women were attacked and one of them was killed. Something was outwitting 3 officers and 40 men and armies of 1,000 peasants. War was declared. Prince Shiriniki, with 10 officers and 130 men, arrived from St. Petersburg. We noticed that in uncanny occurrences, when there is wide publicity or intense excitement, phenomena stop or are stopped. War was declared upon something, but it disappeared. According to general descriptions, the animal was long, with a blunt muzzle, and round, standing up ears, with a long, smooth, hanging tail. We know what to expect. In the field, December 23rd, 1893, it is said that after a study of sketches of the spoor of the animal, the naturalist Alfieri gave his opinion that the animal was a large dog. He so concluded because of the marks of protruding nails in the sketches. But also it is said that plaster casts of the footprints showed no such marks. It is said that the nail marks had been added to the sketches because of assertions by hunters that nail marks had been seen. Writing 30 years later, General Burton tells of the animal as something that had never been identified. This is fringing upon an enormous subject that leads away from the slaughtering of sheep to attacks, some of them mischievous, some ordinarily deadly, and some of the Jack the Ripper kind, upon human beings. Though I have hundreds of notes upon mysterious attacks upon human beings, I cannot develop an occult criminology now.